You are about to read a summary of the book Discipline is Destiny, written by Ryan Holiday, in which you will learn why discipline is so important and how it can alter your future. Introduction. What are the benefits to me? Learn how having self-discipline can lead to greater success. Hercules encountered a fork in the road while he was wandering through the hills of Greece a very long time ago, long before he became known throughout mythology as a great hero. On one of the roads, a beautiful goddess beckoned to him and promised him a life of luxury. She assured him that he would get everything his heart desired and would never have to worry about feeling pain, fear, or sadness again. On the other path, another goddess made an offer, but it was much more low-key than the first one. She also promised Hercules rewards, but they were conditions that he had to meet first. The journey along this path would be difficult and require a lot of hard work, perseverance, and sacrifice. But doing so would transform him into the individual he was always destined to be. This legend illustrates a choice that each of us must make on a daily basis, the choice between vice and virtue, or the path that is straightforward but ultimately unsatisfying versus the path that is challenging but rewarding. The ancient Stoics believed that virtue could be broken down into four distinct components: bravery, moderation, justice, and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome and philosopher, is credited with coining the phrase touchstones of goodness to refer to these components. According to him, the only way to achieve happiness in life was to put these principles into practice. The second of these cardinal virtues, temperance, also known as self-discipline, will be the topic of discussion in this analysis of Ryan Holiday's book, Discipline is Destiny. In this lesson, we'll discuss the practical steps you can take to develop more self-control in your day-to-day life, as well as how becoming more self-controlled can lead to greater happiness and mental clarity. But what about Hercules? It goes without saying that our hero made the decision to travel the path of virtue in order to fulfill his destiny. Now, the decision is entirely up to you. The first essential idea is that exercising self-control does not restrict your freedom but rather gives it to you. Have you grown weary of your environment? Get yourself on a plane. Dissatisfied at work? Make a career change. Crave pizza? Order it. Have a point of view? Share it. People in many parts of the world can do almost anything they want, and they can get whatever they want at the tap of a finger. And yet, despite all of this freedom, a significant number of us continue to feel unfulfilled. What exactly are we getting wrong here? A famous quote attributed to former President Eisenhower describes freedom as the opportunity for self-discipline. This is the most important point. All of these things that are supposed to liberate us, technology, privilege, and success, will only leave us spiraling aimlessly without any direction or purpose if we do not have moderation or the virtue of self-discipline. In other words, having access to something without exercising self-control will result in imbalance and dysfunction. Let's dive in a little deeper. Every single one of us has a lower self and a higher self, which are those voices within us that constantly compete for our attention. Hercules must decide whether he will choose vice or virtue. The side that concedes and the side that keeps fighting against each other, the aspect that stubbornly clings to excess and disorder in contrast to the aspect that strives for equilibrium. The ability to keep one's lower self in check and to strengthen one's higher self is what is meant by the term self-discipline. It requires putting in a lot of effort, practicing good habits, being able to persevere through challenges, establishing boundaries, and not giving in to temptations. In a nutshell, it boils down to letting one's principles, moderation, and resolve shape how one lives their life. It's possible that you're thinking, what the hell? Not for me. Self-discipline? More like self-deprivation. Perhaps you admire or even envy people who choose the path of least resistance. You might believe that they are having more fun or that they are progressing more quickly. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that not everything that appears to be valuable actually is. Take, for example, the trait of greed. It means that you are always looking for more, and as a result, you never really take the time to appreciate everything that you already have. And you're not living up to your full potential, are you? This is a condition that can only lead to further suffering, resentment, and hatred of oneself. The practice of self-discipline does not involve depriving oneself, quite the contrary, in fact. It's all about using control to unlock a whole new world of possibilities. Let's talk about Eisenhower once more for a second. When he was a child, he was instructed in a Bible verse that echoed a lesson that the Stoic philosopher Seneca had imparted to his students: most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. After serving in the military for a lengthy and unremarkable period of time, Eisenhower was given the position of Supreme Commander of the Allied forces during World War II. He later went on to become the 34th President of the United States. Eisenhower took this experience with him into his new role. His enormous success was not the result of force, rather, it was the result of his powerful capacity for restraint as well as his ability to persuade, compromise, and exercise patience. To develop one's own self-discipline requires a certain amount of bravery, which is a fact. Nevertheless, adopting this way of life is likely to increase your level of success. And most importantly, it will make you fantastic in spite of whatever comes your way. In the following sections, we will delve into the specifics of how to bring one's physical, mental, and spiritual selves under one's own control. Where to begin? The human body. Concept essential 2. Learn to master your physical self before your physical self masters you. In the history of baseball, Lou Gehrig is considered to be one of the all-time greats. He played for the Yankees for 17 years, during which time he set a record by not missing a single game despite hitting 495 home runs and a total of 23 grand slams. This record stood for more than half a century. But Lou never developed into a natural athlete. He struggled with his weight and had poor coordination when he was a child. How exactly did he manage to overcome illness and injury to play a total of 2,130 consecutive games and become the legend that he is today? He was the one who put in the most effort compared to everyone else, and he refused to give up. It is safe to say that Lou was well versed in the art of practicing self-discipline. The Stoics adhered to a Spartan diet and engaged in strenuous physical activity not to flaunt their six-pack abs but rather to cultivate the mental and physical strength necessary to endure the challenges of everyday life. When it comes to your physical health, having self-discipline means increasing your stamina and making long-term investments in yourself so that you can live a healthier and more fulfilling life for a longer period of time. None of that live fast, die young nonsense. Realizing your full potential requires you to be able to overcome obstacles such as sloth, atrophy, and difficult conditions in your life. There are a lot of little adjustments that you can make in your life to begin taking control of your body before it takes control of you. To begin, try to schedule strenuous activities into each day of the week. It doesn't matter if you engage in jiu-jitsu, weightlifting, basketball, long walks, or even running a marathon. The point is that you're moving your body. On the other hand, it ought to be physically taxing and at least a little bit unpleasant. The key to developing temperance is to actively seek out situations that are difficult. Perhaps you believe that the purpose of success is to not have to struggle in any way. But here's the thing, having an excessive amount of comforts makes us feeble and dependent, as well as afraid of being without them. You can get tougher by being tough on yourself, and you can also make it impossible for other people to be tough on you by making it impossible for them to be tough on you. So put yourself to the test. Take showers with cold water. Try sleeping on the floor instead of a bed. If you can learn to be happy with less, you'll find that you have more money, more freedom, and more power over your life. Next, make sure you get plenty of rest by turning in early. One is to make sure that you are getting sufficient amounts of sleep. If you had to be completely honest with yourself, would you say that your performance is at its peak when you are well rested or when you are groggy and running on empty? It might be stating the obvious to say that getting enough sleep can improve your life, but it really can. You'll have increased motivation and energy, in addition to improved decision-making abilities. The second justification is so that you can take control of your mornings, which are the peaceful, early hours when your mind is at its most alert and you have the most self-control. If you get a good night's rest, you'll be able to spring into action and get things done before the stresses of the day wear you down. At long last, show up. That's what Lou Gehrig spent the better part of 17 years doing. Instead of sheer inspiration or brilliance, consistency is the secret superpower that will lead to your success. There are a great number of intelligent and talented people. However, not everyone puts in the effort that they should. Therefore, make it a point to show up for your priorities on a daily basis, even if you're exhausted, busy, or you don't have to. Make an appearance, even if it's only in a minor capacity. Go for a 10-minute jog. Write just one sentence from your novel. After you've established your presence, you'll frequently discover that you can build on the momentum you've already established. It's possible that 10 minutes of running will turn into 30 minutes. Perhaps a single sentence will become an entire page. Life is not easy. It is rife with challenges and predicaments over which you have no say and over which you have no control. One of these is not having self-control with regard to one's physical appearance. However, the body is only the first step in the process. Building up your physical self-control helps you develop something even more important, your willpower. In the end, your mind is the only thing that really matters, and that's where we'll be focusing our attention next. Concept Fundamental 3. Develop your mental self-control by strengthening your physical self-control. When you train your body to be self-disciplined, you enable your mind to perform to the best of its abilities and reach its full potential. The neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett has demonstrated that proper brain function is dependent on the overall health of an individual's body. These are not just empty platitudes. In a state of physical exhaustion, the brain is unable to perform its function of regulating the rest of the body. However, there are a lot of people in this world who take their physical fitness seriously, but other aspects of their lives are a complete mess. Why? Because there is more to temperance than just having the necessary physical strength. In the end, it doesn't matter what time you wake up, what you eat, or how much you push your body if your mind is constantly at the mercy of distractions, bad moods, or impulses to sabotage your own efforts. Therefore, once you have your physical self under control, it is time to work on the next step, which is to moderate your mental state. This requires you to cultivate a sense of equilibrium in how you feel, think, and react in the midst of the chaos and confusion that is more commonly known as life. This concept is exemplified brilliantly by the British national motto, "Keep calm and carry on," which was exemplified to the letter by Queen Elizabeth. In 1966, a heavy cement block fell onto the royal car she was sitting in, but she maintained her composure throughout the ordeal. Her response? This is a sturdy vehicle. In addition, in 1981, a gunman approached her and fired 6 shots at her without her even flinching. There is a split second that passes between each stimulus and your response to it. You have 2 options. One is to use this time to think, collect your thoughts, and wait for more information. The other is to give in to destructive patterns such as taking offense, making hasty assumptions, and placing blame. If we respond negatively to challenging circumstances, the circumstances will not improve, rather, they will become even more difficult. Therefore, practice having just a little bit of patience before you respond. Ask yourself if what you're experiencing is actually true and if it's as annoying or upsetting as it feels. If it is, then you should question why it feels that way. Try not to let negative emotions such as fear, anger, or prejudice cloud your judgment. Training yourself to focus intently is an additional component of mental self-discipline. Take a lesson from Beethoven, who would suddenly mentally disappear in the middle of a conversation in order to pursue an idea he had for a musical composition. He once told a friend that he was occupied with such a lovely, deep thought that he couldn't bear to be disturbed while he was in his raptus, also known as his flow state. This may seem like a self-indulgent behavior, but in reality, it takes an incredible amount of self-control to concentrate in a world that is constantly distracting us from what we're trying to do. Therefore, even if it seems self-indulgent, practice making an effort to ignore things. Experience what it is like to fully dedicate yourself to pursuing your inspiration or finding a solution to that challenging problem. Also, don't even bother attempting to achieve perfection. It's just another word for being paralyzed, and if you're stuck, your potential will decrease along with you. An unhealthy preoccupation with perfectionism causes people to miss out on opportunities to actually accomplish things and grow as a result of their experiences. Focus on doing your very best work rather than trying to achieve perfection. Do not give up even if you fail, as it is inevitable that you will, whether it be on your diet, your running plan, or your morning routine. We set goals and benchmarks for ourselves not so that we can use them as an excuse to give up, but rather so that we can strive to achieve them. Keep in mind that setbacks are not permanent. Besides being an opportunity for development. The great philosopher Socrates was fully aware that he did not know very much. However, he was certain about one thing: we can't continue on in this manner. The simple truth is that everyone has room for growth. However, regardless of whether or not you believe that, it will eventually turn out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you have the potential to improve, you will. If you don't, then you're right in another sense as well, you won't. Concept Central 4. You have to get your body, mind, and spirit in sync if you want to accomplish great things. The ancients held charioteers up as the epitome of self-control and moderation in all aspects of life. In order to win a race, a charioteer had to perform a number of tasks simultaneously, including the following: encourage their horses to go as quickly as they can while still maintaining control over them. Maintain your mental focus while maintaining a firm grasp on the reins. Keep your vehicle from crashing through the rough hairpin turns. Maintain your composure in the face of impending danger and, very likely, death. All of this took place while a rowdy crowd applauded and jeered. On the magisterial plane, there was a great charioteer who had their body, mind, and spirit in perfect alignment so that they could perform at the highest level possible despite being in one of the most stressful situations that could possibly be imagined. Antoninus Aurelius is another example of a master who possessed true moderation. During his 23 years of reign over the Romans, he never prioritized his own needs or those of his family over those of his subjects. He didn't whine or try to get out of his responsibilities in any way, he just got the job done. It was said that he was compassionate and well-balanced in both his personal life and in his role as emperor of a massive empire. As evidence of this, there were not many significant conflicts that took place during his reign. Before he passed away, he uttered the word equanimitas, which translates to equanimity. The ability to maintain equilibrium was the key to Antoninus's enormous amount of success, as well as the reason why the best charioteers crossed the finish line uninjured. It is the last step for all of us, and we must take it in order to achieve greatness. In the real world, self-discipline doesn't mean very much if it isn't accompanied by a healthy dose of love, compassion, and kindness. The path to moderation is one that is rigorous and difficult to travel. However, the focus should be on developing oneself rather than isolating oneself. There will be times when people won't understand your decisions, and there will be times when they'll flat out disagree with you. However, as you progress further along the path of virtue, you will become more charitable and more willing to offer the other cheek to those who wrong you. You'll come to understand that everyone else is traveling their own path and making the most of the opportunities presented to them. You are not in a position to pass judgment. You are there to accept them, encourage them to do better, and cheer them on in their endeavors. One last, extremely brief tale is as follows. One morning, the Stoic philosopher Cleanthes was out for a stroll through Athens when he came across a man who was berating himself for some error that he'd committed in the past. A pause was taken by Cleanthes before he continued, "Remember, you're not talking to a bad man. You are not someone who accepts excuses because you are a self-disciplined person who holds themselves to high standards, pushes their limits, and does not give up easily. However, this does not mean that you should beat yourself up or hate yourself when you make a mistake. Everyone you've ever looked up to has hit the snooze button at some point in their lives. They are now fuming with rage. They have not been the best friend or partner to have in your life. They have abandoned the cause in some significant way. If you had been there, would you have been able to tell them how terrible those times were? Almost certainly not. You would have done better to try to reassure them that it wasn't the end of the world and to encourage them to keep going with what they were doing. Stoicism is not about punishing oneself, as has been mentioned previously. Seneca stated that there is in actuality no kinder and gentler philosophical school, and that its very purpose is to be useful, bring assistance, and consider the interests not only of itself but of all people. You can count yourself among those individuals. Therefore, you must be your own friend. And put your love and support for yourself to use in times of adversity and destiny so that you can continue to develop and thrive." Concluding remarks. Self-discipline does not involve restricting yourself in any way, rather, it entails exercising command over your behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. Working hard, thinking deeply, and holding yourself to a high standard are all ways in which you can both honor the Stoic tradition of living a virtuous life and become a part of it. In the long run, doing so will not only make you more productive, but it will also make you happier and healthier as well. You won't be in any trouble even if and when you do fail. You'll be able to look back and see that you gave it your all, as well as realize that you have what it takes to overcome the obstacles that life throws at you, get back up when you fall, and keep moving forward with purpose and strength. We appreciate you watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with the people you care about the most.